Welcome back to Soul Spirit Stories, the place where ordinary lives unfold into extraordinary miracles. If you believe that kindness can change destinies, that compassion can turn pain into purpose, and that love can rewrite the ending, then you're in the right place. Make sure to stay with us till the end, because today's story will touch your heart in ways you didn't expect. This is the story of a single father, a janitor named Mark, and how his one act of kindness changed not only his life, but also the life of a powerful CEO and a little girl who'd been lost for weeks. It was a cold evening in late November. The city was quiet, wrapped in fog and the scent of rain. Mark tightened his old jacket as he walked into the towering glass building where he worked nights cleaning offices. His shoes squeaked on the marble floor, and the sound echoed through the empty halls. He'd been a janitor there for nearly 5 years, ever since his wife passed away. Life hadn't been easy since then. Raising his little son, Liam, on his own was a challenge, but Mark did everything he could. He worked double shifts, took any odd job he could find, and somehow managed to keep a smile on his face whenever Liam was around. That night, like many others, he clocked in at 10 p.m. The world slept while he mopped floors, emptied trash bins, and polished windows in the giant corporate tower belonging to Bright Star Industries. The CEO of the company, Richard Harlow, was one of the richest and most respected men in the city. But lately, the news had been filled with one heartbreaking story. Richard's 8-year-old daughter, Emily, had gone missing 2 weeks ago. She'd disappeared from a park in broad daylight. The entire city had been searching. Police, volunteers, even drones, yet no sign of her. Mark had seen the missing posters on every street corner. Emily's little smiling face haunted him. Every time he looked at Liam, he thought of her parents and how broken they must be. Around midnight, Mark was cleaning the 32nd floor, an area rarely used except for private board meetings. It was unusually quiet that night. But as he turned the corner near one of the old storage rooms, he heard something, a soft whimper. Like a child crying, Mark froze. He thought maybe he was imagining it, the fatigue playing tricks on him. But then he heard it again, a muffled sob, barely audible. He slowly pushed the storage room door open. Inside it was dark, filled with cleaning supplies and old furniture. He turned on his flashlight and pointed it toward the sound. There, in the corner behind a stack of boxes, was a little girl, her clothes dirty, her eyes red from crying. Mark's heart stopped. "Hey, sweetheart." "It's okay," he whispered, kneeling down. "I'm not going to hurt you." The girl flinched at first, but then looked up at him. Her lips trembled. "I want to go home," she said in a shaky voice. Mark immediately recognized her face. It was Emily, the missing daughter of the CEO. He couldn't believe it. "How did she end up here?" He gently wrapped his jacket around her. "It's okay, Emily, you're safe now. I'm going to take care of you, all right?" She nodded slowly, clutching his arm. Mark didn't waste a second. He called the police, his hands shaking so hard he almost dropped his phone. Within minutes, sirens echoed outside the building. The officers arrived, and Mark handed Emily over to them. As they led her out, she looked back and whispered, "Thank you." The story spread like wildfire. By morning, every news channel was talking about the janitor who found the CEO's missing daughter. When Mark came home later that day, utterly exhausted, his phone was flooded with messages. His co-workers, neighbors, even strangers called him a hero. But Mark didn't see himself that way. He just did what anyone would have done. That afternoon, his small apartment doorbell rang. He opened it to find 2 people standing there, Richard Harlow, the CEO, and his wife, Claire. Both looked worn out, their faces pale from sleepless nights. But their eyes were filled with gratitude. "Mr. Evans," Richard said, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't even have words. You found our daughter. You saved her life. We owe you everything." Mark stepped aside to let them in, flustered. "Please, sir, I just did what anyone would have done. I'm glad she's safe, that's all that matters." But Richard shook his head. "Not everyone would have cared enough to check. Not everyone would have called immediately. You gave us our family back." Claire broke down crying. "Emily told us everything. She said you were kind, that you made her feel safe." Mark felt tears sting his own eyes. "She's a brave little girl," he said softly. After a long conversation, the couple left, promising they'd be in touch. Mark didn't think much of it. He went back to work that night as usual, sweeping the same floors and emptying the same bins. But the next morning, something unexpected happened. His supervisor called him into the office. Mark thought maybe he was in trouble for all the media attention. But instead, the supervisor smiled. "Mark," he said, "Mr. Harlow wants to see you in his private office. Right now." Mark's heart raced as he took the elevator to the top floor. He'd never been there before. The doors opened to reveal a luxurious office with glass walls overlooking the city. Richard Harlow stood by the window, his back to Mark. When he turned around, he was holding an envelope. "Mark," he began, "I've been thinking about what you did. There's no way I can ever repay you for saving Emily, but I'd like to try." He handed the envelope to Mark. Inside was a check with more zeros than Mark had ever seen in his life. Mark froze. "Sir, I can't take this," he stammered. "It's not charity," Richard said firmly. "It's gratitude, and it's an opportunity." He went on to explain that he had read Mark's file. Before his wife passed away, Mark had studied mechanical engineering, but had to drop out to care for her and their son. "I did some digging," Richard said with a smile. "You were top of your class. You have talent, Mark. You just never got a chance to show it." Mark looked at him, confused. "What are you saying?" "I'm offering you a job, not as a janitor, but as a trainee in our engineering department. Full salary, benefits, and support to complete your degree." Mark was speechless. He tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Finally, he whispered, "Why me?" Richard's eyes softened. "Because you didn't just save my daughter. You reminded me that good people still exist. You showed me what humility and courage look like." That night, Mark came home with tears in his eyes. He hugged Liam tightly. "Looks like our lives are about to change, buddy," he said with a smile. Months passed, and Mark flourished in his new role. He worked hard, studied at night, and earned his degree. Richard became not only his boss, but a mentor, and soon a friend. Emily often visited the office and would bring little drawings for Uncle Mark, as she called him. One evening, during a company event, Richard stood before hundreds of employees to make a special announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "6 months ago my family went through the darkest time of our lives. And one man, one humble, hard-working man, brought light back into our world." He gestured toward Mark. "Today, I'm proud to announce that Mark Evans will be leading our new innovation division, a department focused on creating sustainable technology for schools and hospitals in low-income communities." The room erupted in applause. Mark stood there, stunned, tears streaming down his face as Richard handed him the microphone. He took a deep breath and said, "I used to think I was just a janitor, but I've learned that every person, no matter their job or circumstance, has the power to make a difference. Sometimes one act of kindness can change more lives than you'll ever know." The crowd went silent, and then the applause grew louder. After the event, Emily ran up to him and hugged his leg. "You're my hero, Uncle Mark," she said. He knelt down and smiled. "No, sweetheart, you're mine. You reminded me that miracles still happen." Years went by. Mark continued to thrive, using his position to create jobs for single parents, scholarships for children, and community programs that helped families in need. Richard and Claire became like family to him and Liam. And as Liam grew older, he often said, "Dad, I want to be just like you, kind, brave, and always helping people." Mark would smile and say, "Just be you, son. That's enough." One sunny afternoon, a few years later, Mark and Richard sat on a bench outside the company's new charity foundation headquarters. They watched as Liam and Emily, now teenagers, helped paint a mural on the wall. A colorful picture of hands reaching out to one another. Richard looked at Mark and said quietly, "Funny how fate works, isn't it? You saved my daughter, but in many ways you saved me too." Mark smiled, looking out at the children. "Maybe we all saved each other," he said softly. The wind rustled the trees, carrying the laughter of the kids in the air. And for a moment, The world felt peaceful, like everything had fallen exactly into place, because sometimes the universe rewards kindness in ways we can't predict. Sometimes the smallest act of compassion creates ripples that reach beyond imagination, and sometimes a janitor becomes the hero who changes not just one life, but many. So, if you ever feel like what you do doesn't matter, remember Mark's story. Remember that no kindness is ever wasted. No matter how small, every action, every moment has the power to rewrite someone's destiny, maybe even your own. Thank you for listening to this story from Soul Spirit Stories. If it touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales that remind us all what it means to be human. Until next time, keep believing in kindness, keep holding on to hope. And remember, sometimes miracles find us when we